I never thought my own son, the boy I carried for 9 months, the child I raised after his father's passing, would one day look at me as if I were nothing more than a burden. Before I tell you how it all happened, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unbelievable life stories. I'm 68 years old. My hair has turned gray. My bones ache a little more than they used to, and I don't move as quickly as I once did. But inside, I am still the same woman who gave everything to her family. And yet lately, my son treats me as if I am invisible. This house we lived in, it wasn't just a building. It was where my life unfolded. The wooden floors still hold the marks of his toy cars when he was 5. The kitchen walls still carry the faint stains of birthday cakes gone wrong. The porch still remembers the sound of his laughter on summer nights. Every corner of that house held a piece of me, of him, of us. But now he walked through those same rooms not with love, but with calculation. His eyes didn't see memories. They saw dollar signs. It began slowly. Small comments slipped into conversations. "Mom, don't you think this house is too big for you now? Wouldn't it be easier if you had less to clean? You deserve comfort, maybe a nice senior community." At first, I thought he was simply concerned. But soon, the tone shifted. His voice grew impatient when I needed help. His sighs grew louder when I asked him to carry groceries inside. He stopped calling me Mom and started saying things like, "You really should think about moving out." Each word chipped away at me. The boy who once begged me to read bedtime stories was now pushing me toward the door. I kept telling myself maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was just sensitive, grieving the years gone by. But deep down, a seed of doubt began to grow. And then, one evening, I overheard something that shattered me. He was on the phone, pacing the hallway. His voice was low, but clear enough for me to catch every word. "Once the house is in my name, we can sell it for at least $500,000. She won't put up a fight. She's old. She's tired. She won't know the difference." My heart stopped. He wasn't thinking about my comfort. He wasn't worried about my well-being. He wanted the house. And in that moment, I realized my son was planning to get rid of me. After overhearing that phone call, I sat frozen in my chair, the words echoing in my mind like a cruel curse. My own son, the very person I thought would protect me, was planning to push me aside for money. For the next few days, I could barely look at him without feeling my heart ache. Every time he smiled at me, it felt forced. Every "How are you, Mom?" sounded hollow, rehearsed. I wanted to scream at him, to confront him, but something inside me whispered, "Wait, watch, learn the truth before you act." So I pretended I didn't know. I continued with my routines, watering the plants, knitting by the window, making tea in the evenings. But in my silence, I observed. He began leaving real estate brochures on the kitchen table, casually flipping them open to pictures of retirement homes. "Look, Mom," he'd say, his voice dripping with false sweetness. "Doesn't this place look so comfortable? You'd have nurses right there if you needed them." I'd force a smile. Inside, my stomach churned. I noticed the way his friends looked at the house when they visited. They'd linger in the living room, whispering about open floor plans and market value. It was no longer a home to him. It was a prize. And yet, through all this, he still believed I was powerless. He thought I was old, tired, and naive. But what he didn't know was that I had fought for this house with every ounce of strength I had after his father died. I remembered working double shifts at the diner, scrubbing floors until my knees ached, saving every dollar I could just to make the mortgage payments. I remembered sitting at the bank, signing the papers that put the deed firmly in my name. This house wasn't just mine legally. It was mine in spirit, in blood, in sacrifice. So I began planning. I called an old friend who worked with a real estate agency. We met quietly, away from the house, sipping coffee in a little diner where no one would recognize us. I want to sell, I told her firmly, and I want it done fast. Her eyes widened. But what about your son? I shook my head, my voice steady. He thinks this house is his future. But it was never his. This is my choice, my freedom. In that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: control. For so long, I had allowed myself to be treated as though I were weak, fragile. But deep down, I was still the same woman who had survived loss, hardship, and loneliness. And if my son wanted to get rid of me, then I would leave, on my terms, not his. The decision was made. I was going to sell the house before my son could lay a claim on it. The realtor moved quickly. Photos were taken, listings went up, and in less than 2 weeks, offers began pouring in. I didn't tell my son. I went about my days as though nothing had changed, making him breakfast, folding his laundry, smiling at him across the dinner table. But inside, I carried a secret that would change everything. On the day the for sale sign was hammered into the front yard, my son wasn't home. I watched through the window as the bright red letters gleamed in the sun. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from relief. That night, when he came home, he didn't notice it right away. But the next morning, as he walked to his car, his voice tore through the house like a storm. "Mom, what is this?" he yelled. "Why is there a for sale sign in the yard?" I stepped onto the porch, calm and steady. "I sold the house," I said simply. Pause. His face turned pale, then red with anger. You can't do that. This is our house. This is my future." "No, son," I said softly. "This was my house, and you made it clear you didn't want me in it anymore." For a moment, he stood frozen. His mouth opened as if to argue, but no words came out. Finally, he shouted, "You betrayed me." I shook my head. "No. You betrayed me when you plotted to throw me out, when you valued money more than your mother. I gave you everything I had. I worked until my hands bled, so you would have food, clothes, and a safe home. And now, you see me as nothing more than an obstacle standing in the way of your fortune." He turned away, his fists clenched. "You'll regret this," he muttered under his breath. "Maybe I will," I whispered. "But at least this decision is mine, and that's something you can never take from me." Within weeks, the house was gone. The papers were signed, the keys were handed over, and I watched from the sidewalk as a new family moved in. Children running through the yard, laughter spilling into the street. It stung, yes. Watching strangers fill the space where I had poured my life. But I reminded myself, a house is just walls and wood. The memories, they live inside me, not within bricks. And for the first time in a long while, I felt free. After the house was sold, I packed my belongings into a few boxes, just the essentials. Some clothes, my favorite photo albums, and the quilt I had stitched with my own hands years ago. I didn't take much, because I realized I didn't need much. I moved into a small, cozy apartment across town. The building wasn't fancy, but it had sunlight streaming through the windows in the mornings, and a little balcony where I could sip my tea. It wasn't the house I had lived in for decades, but it was peaceful. Peace, that was something money could never buy. My son called me for weeks afterward. Sometimes his voice was angry, shouting down the line, "How could you do this to me?" Other times, he tried to sound sweet, asking if I needed anything, pretending to care. But I could hear it in his voice, the desperation. Not for me, but for what he had lost. The house, the money, the inheritance he thought was guaranteed. I stopped answering his calls. I needed distance. I needed to heal. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I had failed as a mother, wondering if I had raised a man who valued money over love because of something I did wrong. But then I remembered the sacrifices I had made, the nights I went hungry so he could eat, the times I wore old shoes so he could have new ones, the double shifts, the exhaustion, the loneliness. No, I hadn't failed. He had made his choices. And now I had made mine. I began building a new routine. I joined a book club at the library. I made friends with a neighbor who invited me to Sunday dinners. I even started volunteering at a local community center, teaching kids how to bake simple cakes and cookies. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Not someone's mother, not someone's burden, not someone's obstacle, just me. And slowly I realized something. The house was never truly the treasure. The real treasure was my dignity, my independence, and my ability to choose peace over pain. One evening, as the sun set over the city, I sat on my little balcony with a cup of tea in my hands. I thought of my husband, of his words in that letter he once wrote. Home isn't a building, it's the people who love you inside it. And now, I finally understood. Sometimes the family you create gives you love, and sometimes it doesn't. But you always have the power to love yourself enough to walk away. My son wanted to get rid of me, so I got rid of the house he thought was his. And in doing so, I finally found my freedom.